welcome back to the Cad Sisters.
Today we are finally telling you guys the story time of our two stalkers. They are two separate stories, but we kind of just want to mush them into one. Also, our makeup, I know it's a little bit pink. We just did a Valentine's Day makeup tutorial. By the time this video is posted, the tutorial is already out. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check it out.
And we'll link it in the description so you guys can just get there quickly.
Let's get straight into the story. We do have mimosas while we tell you guys this story. We are not gonna cheers each other because we're a bit sick. We're not gonna spread some more even though we're right beside each other, but you get the point. Cheers. Cheers. Also, you guys, I have a glass of wine that I need to finish. Just FYI.
So we're gonna start off with my story first. This took place when I was probably like 15 years old at the place that I worked at. It kind of started happening early on when I began having this stalker issue. There was this guy that would constantly show up to my work. And one day when I was like stalking like a shelf or whatever, that's weird, I was like stalking. I had like a job where I would do like personal shopping for people. Basically one of these days I was like stalking the shelves, and then that guy that would come to my work and was already acting kind of like sus. He came up behind me and was like,
very creepy.
Yeah, like behind me, you guys. I was facing like this and he was right there, very close to my ear. He was like, what's your phone number? And I got so scared.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did he just come up to you like that and just said, what's your number? Or did he say like, hi? Like,
no, he came up behind me.
red flag.
I already knew who it was. Like I could just tell by his like voice. I'd heard him speak before at the store I was working at. So I already knew. I was like, hey, this guy has been around being weird for a while. And he was like, what's your phone number? And I think I had like a shock reaction, you know? And I just had my real phone number. I was like, oh my God, that was so stupid of me to do. And that was like my first mistake, you know, like should have never done that. Should have said a fake phone number, but I was like 15. It was just like a instant reaction.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when you're in that type of position, you don't really think exactly of what you should have done in that moment.
Yeah.
You kind of think about it after, and that's okay because that's a part of the process. It's a part of learning.
That's kind of how that began to happen. Sorry if you guys hear anything in the background. Our stepdad is watching a movie and the volume is clearly like blasted through the roof. So
he likes it that way. So if you hear any fighting or any yelling,
crazy noises,
it's definitely his action movie.
Yeah. Glad that we got that out of the way now. Yeah, so this guy continued to show up at my work, and it started to get so bad that he would stay for like 3 hours at a time at my work. And that's not even over exaggerating, you guys. Like he would stay there and he would act like he was shopping, and he would just like cruise around and he would put stuff back into shelves. This was crazy. He'd pick things up into like a cart or hold them and then put them back and keep doing that. And
that's so weird. Also, like, how long can you shop for? You don't shop for that long.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's just immature, one thing of course, but also you're just actually stalking somebody, and that's invading someone's privacy. They're at work to make their money, and you're over here just
stalking and being a predator to someone that is so much younger than you. It's actually so disturbing. The story doesn't end here, you guys. Obviously, I didn't have his phone number. He had mine, right? So one day I get like a text message and they were kind of playing that guess who game. You know when people do that? He was like, hi, I'm like, who's this? And he's like, yes. I'm like, I don't know. Like I wasn't clicking in my head that it was him because this happened like maybe like a week and a half later. Then he was like the guy from the store. Immediately he was like, is 37 too old for you?
You are literally more than half her age.
Yeah.
More than half her age. That's like 17 years older than this girl.
Yeah.
Because you were a girl.
Yeah. I was like, you're my, like one of my customers. This is like inappropriate. You know, things can be friendly at the store, but just we need to have that customer like working space boundary kind of thing, you know, or workplace, sorry. And he continued to come around. There was one day when I was, you know, at work And he like came up to me and was like, what do I have to do to take you out on a date? Like go on a date with me. I was just so like young and scared. I was like, I have a boyfriend, like you're like a customer. And I would just like laugh it off and keep going because I was like my nervous like reaction.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like you get so awkward and nervous.
Well, she was 15. For that, you need to understand that as a 15-year-old, you're gonna react in a much different way. Obviously, at this point in time, you'd probably be more stern and you'd probably be able to speak up more. But at the time, you just get so awkward.
It was my first job, mind you guys. Like this is back when it was like my first job. You know, you don't want to mess anything up. You don't want to cause conflict. Even though the situation was very wrong, I was just like scared to speak up. I was like, oh, this is like snitching, and then like it's gonna become a huge situation. Continuing with that situation I told you guys about where he was trying to ask me on a date, I was like, so I said I have a boyfriend, and his response was, I don't give a F that you have a boyfriend. Like, I don't give a F, you know? So I just kept walking. I was just trying to ignore him, and he just would stick around, and this happened for quite some time. He tried to even reach out to me on Instagram, you guys, and you know what I said? I literally was like, F off, you better leave me alone. Like,
how did he get your
Because I had a name tag at my work. And so he searched up Karina, or he looked at like the call time sheet. I don't know how he found me. It was actually scary.
God, that is so weird.
It was so scary. He sent a DM and I was like, oh my God. It was like, it's the guy. And I told him, I was like, you're a creep. Like you are so much older than me.
The ring light died. We kind of had to have an intermission, but we're back now.
Okay, so where we left off was the DMs. So I ended up telling like the management at my work. It went way too far, you know, and it needed to stop. Eventually I told management, I was like, hey you guys, like this is what's been happening to me. We really need to watch out for this guy. And yeah, so that kind of concludes my stalker story. But guys, this went on like for a few months, you know, so it wasn't just like a 2-week situation. This went on for months.
What did the management say?
They were just like, okay, yeah, we'll keep an eye out on him and make sure he doesn't bother you again.
Okay, that's good. Did you see him like after that?
Yeah, I think I saw him like 2 times after that. My heart would drop every single time.
But he left you alone?
Yeah. I think that concludes my part of this stalker story. I think that's the end. That's all we should say. And you know, everything's good now.
That's all that matters. And now we will get into my story. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, we went to high school where like during lunch or breaks, or I mean, if you wanted to skip a class, we would always go down. It was like what? Like down like 2 blocks, I would say. You have to go throughout like this neighborhood, and then there'd be a plaza and it would have a few stores, and then there would be a coffee shop. We would always go to this coffee shop whenever one of those scenarios occurred. I was going there very often. It was one of my favorite spots. One day I go in there and there's this new worker. It was this guy. You can clearly tell that he was older, but whatever. I mind my business. I just wanted to go there for my coffee or whatever the case was. I was with one of my girlfriends at the time. What the freak? The ring light died on us again, but we're back. I don't really remember where I last started from, but I'm just going to say that, yeah, that guy was starting to work at the coffee shop. As the days went on, I forgot to mention that as the days went on, we, like whenever I went with my girlfriend
Or me.
or Karina, he would always look at me. I'm saying in an uncomfortable way. Like I had this gut feeling that something was a little bit off. Or he would go and talk to the other worker, and then he would look at me, and then he would talk back to his worker, and then look at me again, and then like smirk or smile or whatever.
And we would always notice it when we were there. Like I would notice it, and he'd be looking at Victoria like
It was that. It was a
like
very
smizing at her in some pervy way.
Yeah, it was a very uncomfortable look. One day, I unfortunately wasn't with Karina, but I was with a different girlfriend. We went to the coffee shop just like any other regular day. I was sitting there, and eventually we just decided to go back because class was about to start. I didn't see him though, and he was already waiting for me in the parking lot. Like he was standing there like that Well, what's that person? What's that person?
What from what? From you?
No, you know, like that, it's like a video game, I'm pretty sure.
Slenderman.
There you go, Slenderman. He was just like that. He's just standing there and he was like, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. And I had a feeling something weird was gonna happen. So I continued walking. I was walking back up to school. I was with my friend and I said, let's walk a little bit quicker. Next thing you know, I look behind me and he's following me. At that point, I kept on going, and then the crosswalk, there was a crosswalk to get to the neighborhood before you reached the school. I remember that there were cars passing by, so of course we were put at a stop. He comes right beside me because he catches up and he was like, hi, and I was like, hi, and he was like, what's your name? And I was like, Victoria, what's your name? Then he continued walking across the crosswalk, walking through the streets with me and my girlfriend. Ultimately, he said, how old are you? And I was like, underage. I didn't even give him my age. I just knew that I was underage for him. I was like, how old are you? And he was like, guess. What is up with these guys saying guess?
I don't know.
I was like, you tell me. He said something with a 3 and a 7, and I said 37. He was like, yeah. First of all, now that I look back on it, why couldn't you just say your freaking age? If you're not able to say your age, you know it's already wrong.
Yeah,
like,
straight up.
Yeah, like you know you're too old. But I'm like, I'm a lot younger. Like that's not legal. And he was like, I don't care. And then he was like, I really want to take you out. You don't have to answer now, but the next time that you come back to the coffee shop, I want your answer. And honestly, ever since then, I never came back to that coffee shop, or I would walk to that plaza still with one of my girlfriends or Karina. But if I wanted something from that coffee shop specifically, I would always make sure that one of them went in there first to A, make sure he's not there so I can go in there, or B, if he is there, then they're just gonna order for me. So one time, he happened to be there. My girlfriend went in and he said, where's Victoria? Is Victoria with you? She was like, no. Obviously I was, but she wasn't gonna say that. He was like, I'm waiting for my answer still. So that just kind of proves my point that like, that's why I never went back. I honestly don't really know what happened to him, but some time went on. Coincidentally, I was with one of my girlfriends and we were at City Park. We were walking along the beach and all of a sudden I see him there. It's just such an odd time and place and just scenario. Like, it was just very random to me that he happened to be there. I remember walking past him, quickly took a glance and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, that's him. I told my girlfriend and she was like, oh my God, that is. We looked back at him and he looked and he kind of smirked, but like he laughed at the same time.
Oh my God, what a creepo.
Yeah, I was just so grossed out and very freaked out. Just out of my comfort zone. Before that situation even happened though, I already told my mom and my stepdad. They said that if it gets any more serious, then they will go to the coffee shop themselves to confront him. And that's very valid for the simple fact that you just don't do that.
You definitely have some kind of an issue up in there because that is so messed up and so disturbing and so disgusting. Obviously these stories are both like very serious topics.
Of course, there are a lot of crazy extensive stories out there that I can only imagine. This is just something that has personally happened to us and we just wanted to share it for the simple message that you need to be careful. You need to listen to your gut when something doesn't feel right.
Exactly.
Don't wait. You need to act on it. Do not feel pressured because of somebody else. If you're not okay with it, you're not okay.
Exactly.
You have every right to say no.
and to feel uncomfortable and all of that. You can feel every way you want about it, because you know what, everything that we spoke about, these stories are both so wrong with the people that were doing these things to us, right?
Yeah.
We just want to spread some awareness on this topic. Like she said, there are even more extensive stories that are even worse, but you know, we're sharing our story, and hopefully some of the mistakes that we may have made, we hope that someone watching this right now can maybe see how to avoid them in the future. If you're sensing that you have a similar situation to us, hopefully it kind of helps give some insight or like advice in a sense. Reflecting back on how we dealt with these situations, some parts were good, you know, in the end.
I know that there's a lot of situations and a lot of smaller girls that probably have experienced certain things, or they might come across it, unfortunately. We just kind of want to help you guys out. You aren't alone in this case. So if, again, you like these story times, please comment down below. We would love to do more, and I'm sure that we will have a few that will pop up in our mind as time goes on. Other than that,
make sure you guys, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh no, God. Make sure you guys like this video, comment down below, subscribe to us. Make sure that you turn on your post notifications so you get notified every time that we upload a new video.
Other than that, we will see you next time. Bye.
Why are you laughing like that?